Security Breach's new DLC makes the franchise's lore more confusing to say the least. One of the most important pieces of it all is actually the location of Freddy's head and what exactly is even going on here. The one mystery that's left most people absolutely mind-boggling. We know this Freddy is presented with the label prototype written on his foot, meaning it's a different Freddy than the one that ventures alongside Gregory in the base game of Security Breach. Then where is our replica's head, and why does it match the exact description of the Security Breach version of Freddy at the end of one of the endings? Well, due to the amount of information out there, I think we finally know everything. For starters, our link to Freddy's head being the biggest mystery is its connection to Princess Quest. This is super important. You see, the Princess Quest ending of the base Security Breach is presented in our DLC as being the main one that connects to Ruin in the first place. I'd agree that elements coming from our Burn Trap ending, the one called the True Ending in the Files that has an entire animation, also comes into play, but the main focus is on the Princess Quest ending here. It's the only ending out of the original 6 that doesn't have a collectible comic, meaning it stands out as the one not associated with imagination, the literal drawing of a child. We additionally see evidence of our Princess Quest events lining up within our game, and wouldn't you know it, the very end screen associated with this Princess Quest ending shows Gregory and Vanessa eating ice cream along with a headless Freddy. Exactly how he's depicted in Ruin, but again, this is the prototype model. It's not like it'd have any correlation to the totally different one we see in... Wait a minute. What if we consider the fact that Freddy himself in this ending and in the main events of Security Breach is also a prototype? You see, a key factor in Security Breach is the fact Freddy bugs out and has a malfunction, which is essentially what ties his character with being the good guy in our story. The one factor that separates him from the rest, as all the other Glamrocks end up influenced by the same virus that takes over the Pizzaplex. What if we consider the fact that this very malfunction is meant to be explained by the idea that Security Breach's Freddy is meant to be a prototype? Freddy specifically tells us, while looking at all the other endos similar to his own, he has never been allowed in that very room. What if I am not the first Glamrock Freddy? He says, as the very concept of prototype Freddy's is now popped into his head. Most likely the very reason he isn't allowed to see this in the first place, because he's potentially supposed to be replaced by something else as well. Another Freddy in the testing stages that's good enough to throw out to the big crowds, but buggy enough where his model still experiences malfunctions and needs to be fixed at the very least. A work in progress, but again, it's not like that would account for the prototype label being present on this Ruin version of Freddy and not on the normal Security Breach one, right? Well, think about this. The Ruin DLC is a game about clarifications, with the main one specifying the base game's endings that tie into the DLC. What if one of the additional clarifications was explaining the reason for Freddy being a good guy, clarifying the reason for this malfunction that makes Freddy less susceptible to the virus's control? He simply isn't a full-fledged version like the others, and the paint covering the prototype label could have simply eroded over time and faded away, as again, he's kind of just left here to rot. Why else would the exact injuries Freddy sustains in the main canon ending of Security Breach match up perfectly with the Freddy we find in Ruin? Logically, in that case, both get their heads cut off, both suffer damage in the same spots, and are essentially taken apart in the same exact way. Both are found in the exact same spot you'd expect them, in Phaser Blast. You see how in the exact same spot the prototype label is missing in the trailer to fully get it through our heads that this was the same Freddy, only for them to add the additional prototype label as a clarification for all of Freddy's malfunctions that were previously left unanswered. Why else would they have this happen yet never provide any hint towards an explanation? We notice the faded color of this model that corresponds with the fading of the very painted over label on his foot. I feel the slight change in color and the appearance of the label is meant to go hand in hand. We see a gift box present in his torso just like the one from Security Breach we open as Gregory, but let's not forget about our model inconsistencies here. Roxanne the Wolf is depicted as somehow having a new faceplate and a whole new look with no one questioning it. Why can't that be said in this scenario too? Even in the case of Monty, a Twitter user by the name of Ghost discovered that an extra tooth was added to the model for no reason. And for starters, the gift boxes aren't even the same color. And to me, it's more correlated with the fact there are plenty of other gift boxes scattered around the Pizzaplex too. The ones that would have to be left behind afterwards containing all the drawings linked to our supposed non-canon endings. It could easily be explained as one of the more random add-ons distinguishing the Security Breach models from the Ruin models, as again, not a single soul has questioned the changes present in the other Glamrocks, because there are slight changes for aesthetic purposes. The main functionality of the animatronic is present in the head, as in the Princess Quest ending, Gregory takes it with him while escaping, and without it, Freddy is more of a wandering malfunction of parts lacking full sensory abilities. He's experienced problems in the past, and even now present in Ruin, he's more of a random sensory detection piece than anything, connecting to the fact that he chases us as Cassie. This is why he's shown as literally invisible when we put our security mask on. It's simply the glitchy representation left in the system, not accompanied by the full code. It's missing the head that would give the leftover body the full sensory function it would need to recognize that this is literally just a child. It wouldn't be attacking us. So you can most likely throw away your Freddy equals bad guy theories. And we know if this was truly a prototype separate from our security breach model, it'd have to be created beforehand, as one of the endings depicts that Freddy leaving the Pizzaplex actually prompts Pizzaplex higher-ups to replace him with Mr. Hippo. These other endings, while yes technically not canon, play out true events that would happen if things played out a different way. 6 different ways to be exact, because as I said, it's in one of the non-canon endings where we see what would play out with the staff bots being ordered to attack Freddy, which happens in both the Disassemble Vanny ending and the Princess Quest ending. The endings are clearly meant to cement the truth regarding what's likely to happen in a certain scenario, as this other non-canon ending is what connects us to the nearly identical injuries we see present on her prototype. It's meant to explain that. So Mr. Hippo being the next move with a missing Freddy means they probably didn't get around to replacing him yet after Security Breach. Are they gonna replace Security Breach Freddy with another prototype Freddy? But this time you can just see the label. The workaround is a bit confusing because I don't know how else he'd show up here if he wasn't meant as a replacement after the events in the canon ending. But as I said, it's depicted here that Mr. Hippo was meant to be the replacement. Yet here we find this version in the same spot we knew our Freddy was in. And in the Princess Quest ending, we know the same staff bot attack happens, but also that in addition to this, Freddy loses his head, meaning Gregory has it. That's where his head is, still in possession of Gregory. Why do you think it never makes an appearance anywhere in the first place? If this were truly a replica that suffered the exact same attack in the exact same spot in the Pizzaplex, which is insane, we definitely would have seen this head lying around somewhere. So whatever loopholes you try to poke in it, it doesn't account for the amount of clear connections that would go unexplained by saying that these are 2 different models. At the very least, if you aren't willing to jump into the concept, remember that Freddy was presented in a way to literally create controversy in the first place. At least to me. Ready for this? Developers knew what they were doing making a headless Freddy that, despite the much stronger connection to our Freddy, also showed a few elements that make people think otherwise. It actually goes hand in hand with the way our endings work. Princess Quest is clarified as the main due to all the comics, but also depicts elements of our Burn Trap ending as well. Same could be said for our Freddy. Most of the evidence here perfectly correlates with it being our Freddy from Security Breach, with a few elements being misleading. But again, I feel like I've done a reasonable job explaining that away. You can outright claim this to be a different model, but it doesn't account for its location and the injuries being in the exact same spot as our original versions. So it's a gray area with a main solution, exactly like in the case of our endings. Or you could simply associate the appearance with the developers wanting to laugh in your face while you go crazy trying to debate which ending this proves to be real. So here's the big twist. We know our endings for this game can be confusing as hell, so I've actually gone and connected the dots on a potential secret ending no one has unlocked yet. Code found in the game, yet it's still an unsolved mystery. So much to be discovered in this very video. And that's just a theory.